I don't think that greed is the big problem that everyone makes it out to be. And since we're talking about greed, it's important to start with the definition of greed. So I found a few here that are all slightly different, but I think these slight differences are important. One says greed is an overwhelming urge to have more of something, usually more than you really need. Another one says greed is a strong desire to continually get more of something, especially money. A third one says intense and selfish desire for something, especially wealth, power, or food. And notice only one of these definitions actually say selfish. And again, what's the definition of selfish? Some of them will say just concerned with your own self-interest primarily, which I don't see as much of a problem. Others say concerned with your own self-interest, but lacking a care for other people, which that's a whole different definition that changes a lot. But we can narrow it down to just one definition of an intense desire for something more than you actually need. Well, then what's the difference between that and motivation? Like, if I want to become a doctor, well, I don't have to become a doctor. There's plenty of other careers I could do. But say I go to school, I study for 6 hours a day, every day, I get a 4.0, I become a doctor. I had an incredible desire to become a doctor if I'm putting that much time into it. And you could say that desire is a bit excessive if I'm putting that much time into it. But you wouldn't say that's a bad thing. You wouldn't say I'm greedy for wanting to become a doctor. It's not a bad thing at all. You could say I'm motivated. So again, what's the difference? Well, greed, we generally think of taking from other people. That not only do I want what I have, but I want what you have as well. Well, then that brings into a morality question, because so if I have a desire for money, so I start a business, I hire some people, I have a great idea, I put that plan into action to create this idea, to create this product that people want. I make a ton of money, people will buy my product, I'm the next Steve Jobs. Well, sure, that could have been greed for money, but it wasn't really a bad thing. I got what I wanted, but so did a lot of other people. They got what they wanted. I wouldn't say that's a bad thing at all. Even if we do consider it greedy, which I don't think everyone would consider that greedy, certainly not most people, well, then what's the issue? But say if I really want money, so I become a professional thief and I steal from people, I start a big Ponzi scheme and just continually take more and more and scam people, I become a telemarketer, well, then that's a whole different issue, because not only am I motivated for money, but I also don't care about anyone else. I lack empathy. I lack sympathy. I'm doing immoral acts. I'm stealing from people. The problem there is not greed. The problem is a lack of morality. The problem there is not a desire for more than I want. It's actually just a desire for more than I want, and the lacking of any sort of moral boundaries that tell me, hey, it's not good to take from people. So in the end, if we decide that the problem of greed is not the desire, it's the taking from people, well, then why don't we just call it theft? Why don't we just say theft is the problem? Why don't we say a lack of morals? Stealing is the problem, because stealing is a problem whether or not I have an excess desire for something. I mean, usually that theft is motivated by a desire for something, but in the end, I mean, if I'm struggling to survive, if I want food and I steal it from someone, that's still wrong. But say it was just motivated by laziness. Like, it's not that I needed food or I was going to starve. It's that, I didn't want to work for it, so I'm just going to take it from someone else. Well, it's still wrong. Well, the problem there was not greed, because I did not want excess. I just wanted food to survive, but I didn't want to work for it. So that's laziness, but it's still wrong. So in the end, I don't see how greed is an issue if it's not stealing. If it is stealing, if it's corruption, then why don't we just call it corruption? Why don't we just call it stealing? Focus on the bigger issue. Because greed, to me, the reason I'm bringing this up and making a video on it is because I see people that, like, you've seen this everywhere. People say, oh, this person's greedy, the business owners are greedy, millionaires are greedy, rich people are greedy, oh, that person's greedy. And greed ends up just meaning some guy wants something and it's more than he wants, and I don't like that, so it's bad. Like, if I become a successful person and I make, say I do become a millionaire, well, am I greedy? Like, people will attack me because I have more than other people. Even if I earned it completely legitimately, I would get attacked because people have less than me and I have more. Whether that's unjust or because of bad luck, Whether that's just because of bad luck on their part and good luck on my part, or because I worked harder, or it could be a number of reasons, but people say I'm greedy. And I disagree with that. The problem was not the motivation or the want of excess. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, if we just take it down to the want of excess definition, I mean, the whole reason we have technology, the whole reason we have civilization is because people wanted more. I mean, you can make a living off of working 16 hours a day, growing your own food as a farmer, but luckily most people don't have to do that anymore. Luckily, the advancing of technology is motivated by greed, the motivation to do something, the motivation to want more than you already have. I mean, pretty much everyone, including yourself, everyone listening to this, pretty much everyone in the world always wants more than they have. Some people, and there's a few people that'll be perfectly content with what they have, but pretty much everyone at least has that desire for more. Some people will never act on it. Other people will act on it in a perfectly moral way and work hard. But that desire for excess is not a bad thing at all. And I guess earlier, now that I think about it, I was attacking laziness. But I wouldn't defend laziness. But again, we have to pick apart the word. If we're talking about this person does nothing and they expect it from other people, well, that's bad. But if they're lazy and they don't want to work, but they don't expect welfare or any sort of benefits from other people, if they're just fine, say, being homeless, they don't want to work, so they're fine being homeless. I mean, hey, as long as they're not trespassing, then if that's what they want to do, then fine. But in the end, the issue comes down to theft. The issue comes down to stealing and violating other people's rights. Greed is not bad unless it violates other people's rights. So in the end, why call it greed? Why talk about greed? Why not just say theft? Why not just say corruption, stealing? Because I think greed is such an easy answer. Like the big thing you hear about communism. Why doesn't communism work? Oh, it's because people are greedy. Well, yes and no. I mean, that doesn't make greed the problem. That just makes human nature the problem. Because humans, by their own nature, want more than they already have. I mean, would you work 10 hours? I mean, if you had to pick between two jobs, both were the exact same kind of work, both the same conditions, but one of them, say, paid $10 an hour, the other one paid $20 an hour, I mean, is it greedy to pick the $20 an hour one? If it's the same job? No, it's just, we're efficient. That's efficiency. You pick the best job for you, which tends to be the most money for the smallest amount of time, again, factoring in, like, working conditions and all that. Well, there's nothing wrong with that. That's just efficiency. That's not greed. Or maybe it is greed, but then greed's not a bad thing. And again, maybe I'm not even stealing from people, but I just treat other people poorly. I don't take from other people, but you could say exploit them. I manipulate them. Well, it's not theft, that's not stealing, but it's a lack of empathy. It's, I guess, manipulation in itself. If you want to call that a bad thing, then again, that gets into the whole, like, what is manipulation? And is it always good or bad? Yeah, this is a more of a just off the cuff video because there wasn't much I could write. I can't really read off a page something like this. It was just thoughts. But let me know what you think in the comments. If maybe I have the definition of greed totally wrong. I just looked up the first 4 definitions that came up, picked the top 3. But I have a problem with words that don't have exact objective definitions, because greed is very arbitrary. Like, so many people, I mean, some people will say, oh, it's bad if you want more, but then they'll go out and say, hey, I want to buy something, or I'll work a few extra hours this week. Well, isn't that greed because they want more? I mean, I don't know. Yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. Agree, disagree, did I miss something, anything more to add? Like the video if you enjoyed, subscribe for more, and thanks for watching.